Hey everyone, this is Pastor Sean, and for this week's video, I was planning on making a video as another exploration on a person that I found I thought would be interesting, but I figured instead that as a way to start off the new series that I'm going to be doing, it's going to be a 13-part series called the Biblical Theology Series, which is going to be 13 weeks of sermons for my channel. And instead of doing another exploration video for this week, I decided to do a different approach that has to do more with that. And more so that it would be something that has to do with motivation and getting your thoughts aligned to be more positive. Oops, lost the remote here. There it is. So, to look at myself and see what can I change about myself. So, recently, within the last about 3 weeks, I've been watching videos by a man named Tony Robbins. I sort of vaguely read about this man in the past, maybe saw a video, one or two maybe. I remember him from that skit in Family Guy. But my brother, I'm not exactly sure where my brother found him online, but he started watching his videos, being that he needed to gain a new, basically to put on a new lens to view life through and to see if he could fix some things so he could be more positive. And I figured that I would do the same thing because Pastor Sean, myself, I would consider myself someone who's pretty pessimistic. I'm a pretty negative person, and I give into, just to be completely real and honest with you guys, I do give into vices and addictions pretty easily. I fall, even though, I'm trying to think of that one thing in Proverbs, but anyways, it has to do with something that is tied together with two people is not easily broken. Well, I live by myself and I'm single, so I think that's why that I fall so much. And also it probably has to do with the stress factor of the job that I work at. So also I have a complete lack of motivation to, I mean, the writing's actually fine. I don't need motivation to write. My 6th book, which is going to be a collection of 30 poems, is actually going to be coming out 2 months, and it's already finished. It just needs to be a little bit, it just needs to sort of be edited and get the title, get the cover, got to write the foreword, but pretty much it's done. And so I don't need motivation with that to, because I use writing event for, some of the, I would say half the time I write. But what I would like to do today is look over things in my life. Basically, okay, I'll go back. So I've been watching this Tony Robbins video, and I just woke up from a nap because I wouldn't say I was feeling necessarily tired. I was just feeling unmotivated. There's actually a lot that I have to do today, and I don't want to do them. I don't like to do anything on Sundays, even though that really has to change, because then it also gives me anxiety when things don't get finished. So it's kind of it's like a snake eating its own tail. I'm sure a lot of people can look at what I just said and think, oh yeah, that's definitely, a problem that I have myself. So anyways, to try to gain a more positive experience, I've written down 5 things here after watching this video on Tony Robbins, How to Train Your Brain to Focus, and also to have just a positive mindset. After taking what he said, I wrote down 5 things that come up in memory as to things that bother me or make me depressed or make me upset. And I would say it actually happens pretty frequently. I don't really think of these things that much when I'm working, because I work at a full-time job still, and which is amazing. Actually, if you really think about it, it's pretty amazing that I've still held this job for this long because of my track record. Because I do have, unfortunately, I do suffer from anxiety problems, where I do have normal, irregular heartbeats, where I'm not supposed to be having any caffeine, I'm not supposed to be eating anything with sugar in it, I'm not supposed to be eating bread and just things like that because of basically having heart problems. So, and they get really jittery and anxious and nervous a lot and whatnot. So, anywho, the point here is that to gain a more positive mindset, which is something I totally need to do. And I wrote down 5 things that I wouldn't say constantly come up in memory, but it does come up frequent enough to ruin my day or to ruin the week or whatnot. And for some reason, it's been, I don't know, it's been especially bad lately within the last couple months. I don't know if it's because it's just really getting to me that I'm living alone, but because I've been living alone and I actually just signed another lease. So I'm going to be here for another, I don't know, almost, not 2 years, almost 2 years, maybe 3 months shy of 2 years by the time the second lease is out. And it actually started yesterday, but it's October 14th of 2018. But anyways, so it could be several different things, and I think some of it I believe has to do with the devil. The devil does whisper things in your ear and remind you of things, of past battles that you've already won through Jesus Christ, but it still comes up anyways, and it ruins your day. Things of you're supposed to have more motivation. You're not supposed to be a procrastinator. Different things like that. So I'm going to read the first one. Actually, I'm just going to read all 5, and then I'm going to change that by looking at it in a different light, instead of just looking at it in a pessimistic view. That's going to make me depressed or upset. Because also, I forgot to mention this. Another thing that does get to me about these things is that I've always naturally, I think it's just the way of how God made me, I'm very emotional, and I feel, I don't know if it has to do with the anxiety disorder or not, but I feel very strong emotions, and it's taking years upon years to get that under control for the most part. There are times where I still snap or do things I'm not supposed to, or give into addictions or whatnot, because I just don't want to deal with the emotions, or I don't want to deal with my own thoughts. So I do feel very strong emotions, of tearing up, crying about certain things, even if it doesn't seem like that big of a deal. I don't tell anybody this because I find that it's embarrassing. But I feel, for the video, if you guys can, whoever's watching is able to relate to it, then, I'm completely happy to help. So just getting the mindset to turn so I can look at it and look at things in my life in a more positive life, instead of just, allowing myself to get so upset, which is what happens normally. So I'm going to read all 5 of these things here. I'm going to start with number 1, which is 5 being the least and 1 being the worst of what I guess comes up in thought the most, I guess. So that would be Number one would be quitting wrestling school, and that's for pro wrestling. Number two is being single. Number three, my current occupation and how I wanted to become a pastor instead, like doing what I'm doing here on this video, but actually doing it as a job where I'm getting paid for it. So being a pastor of just any kind of church, really. Feeling like I haven't accomplished much in life and not having control of myself or situations. So those are the 5 things that came to mind after watching this Tony Robbins video. And I mean, because he didn't tell me to do that. He was just using examples from his life. And I thought, well, maybe I should just take those things and then, okay, now let's twist it and make it something more, much more positive, and look at it in a more positive light. So number one would be wrestling school. Quitting and coming here to Tucson, actually, that's another one. To look at that in a positive light, because normally when I think about it, it gets me really upset, and also the fact that I'm pretty much addicted to watching old school wrestling. I watch it a lot when I'm not at work. Like, it's a thing it helps me de-stress. So, and there are times when I'll see things online or like in videos that has to do with the old promotion that I was training in back when I was about 20, 21. Because I quit when I was 21. I mean, I'm 30 now. Wow. 9 years I've been thinking about this. Okay, so that's a little shocking to me right there. I didn't realize it's been that much. I did not realize, I'm sorry, getting a little tongue-tied here, that it has been that long. But God spoke to me when I was in the ring, waiting to do what we call the bumps, which is learning how to fall. And I heard God talk to me. And he said, I did not call you to become a wrestler. I called you to become a pastor. So I guess that knocks out 2 of them right there. Because the other thing is my job. It's not that I don't like it, because I actually love working where I work at. I wouldn't say that I love working with most of the people. Some of the people can get very frustrating, but and I'm sure that people get frustrated with me because I do have problems where I become very forgetful. It's something that I was, unfortunately born with, like a kind of a crutch, I guess. But it's not what I'm supposed to be doing with my life. I think that's like 2 of them right there. So is this job wanting to become a pastor, and the reason I actually quit wrestling school was to become a pastor because God told me to do it, and I never did it. But I tried to do it. Actually, I was like when I was living in my parents' house, and I was actually very happy about doing that. I did it for 5 weeks, and that was strictly online, doing it here online. You can actually see those videos on my channel, and I'm going to be making a playlist for those. They are going to be in the 13-part series that I'm making of, and it's going to be volume 1 because I'm going to make several volumes for the biblical theology, which is just regular sermons that I'll get from the Christian Worship Hour, because that's the church that I like to watch. So to look at that in a positive light, even though wrestling was the only thing I wanted to do with my life up until I was 20, so a decade ago. So that means I've been Christian for about 9 years now. Then, because I got saved in June 2009. It's October 2018, so June, July, August, September, October. So 4 months. So 8 months from now, because I think it was the second week of June, I have been a Christian. Well, I wouldn't exactly say that, but I mean, well, yes, I have been a Christian because I've been saved, It's just there was a lot of times where I completely was filled with self-doubt. And there was those 2 times in the last 9 years where I went back to paganism for a very short amount of time, maybe, I don't know, maybe like 3 weeks or so. But then God used 2 different people to pull me back. So actually, I will put a 6th one on here, and that's not going to church. I have that stubbornness that my father has in my family, where I just kind of set goals for myself of going to do this like in public or whatever, and then I don't do it. And I kind of just stay by myself, and I really don't like that about myself, about my personality. So I guess you can just add a 6th thing on there. But anyways, now to look at it positively, because now I'm dwelling again. So I'm trying to figure this out, but I'm still dwelling on the problem. So anyways, to fix this, okay, it's like, okay, well, why did I leave wrestling school to become a pastor? Okay, but I'm not a pastor yet. Well, it's because I didn't really work on it. So if I work on it, keep watching these motivational videos from Tony Robbins, and actively change my mindset and to be more positive, because I have the strength and energy to do it. I've gotten used to this job for the most part. There are certain days when I come home from work and I literally cannot do anything else but watch TV because I'm so just racked with pain and I'm so tired. But for the most part, still the other 4 or 5 days out of the week I can do it. So I'm not completely broken down, but so yeah. That's so I can do it. I actually have applied to be a member on this church college website for free. You just have to take all the classes, and it's going to take, I think it takes about a year or 2 years, and then they send you a certificate saying that you're a pastor from their thing, from their free online church. So I can just go ahead and do that when I'm not at work, because I was already planning on going to college to become a nurse. First, it was to become a scrub technician, then nurse, but I guess now, looking at it, it doesn't really make sense for me to become a nurse, because I wasn't called to do that. So that's what I was told to do, and that's what I want to do. Like I was saying about those 4 videos, because it was a span of 5 weeks, I think, but it was 4 videos that I made of hour-long videos of making and crafting sermons. I just want to get paid for it, though. I don't want to do both of these. I want to do, I don't know, but it has to do with me just having a kind of a crappy mindset, looking at things just in a very, kind of just looking at things in a negative light most, if not all the time. So to switch that around, instead of maybe fixing it, to switch it around. I don't know. I don't know how to switch it around, because it was a very traumatic moment. How do you switch that? Okay, so looking at it in a positive light. Well, I saved my body from a whole lot of more stress on my joints and my muscles, on my bones. So, because pro wrestling, especially the wrestling that I was planning on doing, the old school kind of stuff, was that's what it would have led to, which would be me in a wheelchair in my 40s. So not being able to walk around and whatnot, it just completely in wretched, terrible pain all the time. So that would be, so I actually saved myself from that. Even though I don't really care about that too much. I honestly don't care about that. So, okay, let's try something else. Warrior mentality. Yeah, sounds like me. Like my mind is just doing what Tony Robbins said in the video. Just it's like the computer is just calculating. Okay, well, how can I look at this in a positive light? Maybe we should just go the second one because it's not really working. So being single, that one, I've been feeling a whole lot of pressure on myself of me doing that to me for some reason, because a lot of people that it's always the grass is always greener on the other side of the wall. And it just kind of seems like from a lot of the women that I work with at my job, the nurses and scrub techs, it's never really positive in having a family and having a husband or having a wife or whatnot. From their perspective, it just seems like it's a whole lot of stress that I don't have to deal with because I'm single. I can do whatever I want. So that's a huge, that can be considered something that's very hugely positive for me. So the grass is always greener on the other side. And so that's something that's, because I don't really like kids, at least I don't think I like kids. And so that's something that's very positive to look at it that way. It's just because I have high sexual energy and would like to get married. I would like to wed a woman, but then it's just, dating is just very, not to sound too negative about it, but it's just been very frustrating for the most part. I'm sure any guy can attest to doing online dating or try to meet a woman, like, I don't know, like at a grocery store or a restaurant or, I don't know, maybe a sporting event or something. Like, it's very hard to find a woman, and it's even more difficult to keep her even after you get her phone number or you give her your phone number. So it's very, very challenging, but it can still be construed as a good thing because a lot of people wish that they were in my situation at my job. I don't have to ask to tell that even though they say they love their kids and their husbands, that they want to be in my situation where they're single, they don't have kids, and they can aspire to go after their own ambitions when they're not at work. So they can go anywhere and do anything they want. Like, I have that most of the time, even though I still have to do errands and chores and my laundry and stuff like that. So that's actually a pretty positive thing. Freedom is something that's pretty big. So I love having freedom. I very much like having that. So that's actually, the cards will fall where they may with that one, with the woman and whatnot. So, I mean, because either way I can be happy with it. So, okay, so that one, actually I feel better about that. Okay, so the next job, or the one job for the third one, to become a pastor, well, that one can be fixable. I just have to I'll start tonight, and I'll make an alarm for my phone after I finish this video to go back to that free college thing, Regency something Bible college or so, whatever it is that I signed up for, and I'll just do all the classes, and then once I do all the classes and all the tests, and they'll send me the certificate in the mail, then I can use that as my, as my foot in the door for different churches to apply to, or even open up my own church. So I can totally do that. So that one's fixable. So I just kept getting stuck on the first one about the pro wrestling because that's not fixable. But even though I don't like to work on cars, I may have the mind of a mechanic. So anyway, so to become a pastor and to not do this job, so instead of going to school for that, I'll go for the other thing, and the college is free. So that's really cool. Okay, so actually, I'm actually feeling a lot better now. Okay, so that's two things to look in a positive light. Number 4 would be feeling like I haven't accomplished much in life. Well, technically, that's not true either, because if you look at most people in the world don't have what I have. I am probably richer than at least 50% of the world's population at just the job that I feel so crummy and scummy and not very important. Actually, my job is, even though, I'm not a surgeon, my job is very, very important. So that's my neck is sore. Okay, so that's another thing. That's actually not true at all. I have a very important job. I make a lot of money compared to a whole lot of people around the world, especially in those poor countries like the places in the Middle East or the places that are infested with ISIS, over in those areas like in Syria and whatnot, where all these wars are going on. And even I was watching a video on MSNBC last night where there is an Ebola outbreak in the Congo in Africa. So, it's just, there's so much to be grateful for, and that for me to look at my life living in, a nice small luxury apartment, being literally down the street from my job, there's actually a lot to be thankful for. So I don't have to feel that with the fourth thing here, feeling like I haven't accomplished much. I'm also a writer, and I'm putting out my 6th book. So most writers only put out about 1, 2 to 3 max. I'm putting out a 6th book, a 6th compilation of poems, or collection of poems. So I should actually feel very accomplished. I should feel very good about myself, and that I have actually accomplished a whole lot in life. Just because it doesn't seem like it a lot of the time, because I keep getting down on myself in here, that doesn't mean it's true. So comparing to most people that live in like mud huts and live in these places they built that look like broken down garages and whatnot, because they couldn't afford anything else because they're just poor, working for the equivalent of an American dollar a day. There's a lot for me to be thankful for. And I'm a writer. I've accomplished a lot in writing. The next thing I would accomplish would be to get a certificate to say I'm a pastor. So, and then I can go apply at churches around the state of Arizona and become a pastor. And then that's how that would work. I also should actually write a new prayer list. I haven't done that yet. Last time I wrote a prayer list was a couple months ago, so I really need to get back on that to ask God to help me along with these things for the desires that He gave me. So I feel actually a whole lot better about number 4 too. So I can scratch like 3 of these out now, and not having control. Excuse me. It seems like I don't have control because I'm not at the very top of the dominance hierarchy at my job. But if you just take your mindset out of that equation, which is what I'm going to do right now, it doesn't really matter, because that's not what I'm supposed to be doing with my life. I'm just there to I'm there to help people. I pray over patients, not actually pray over them, because you can get fired for that, but pray over them like in my, my alone time, or I just do it in my head a lot of the times too. So to help people and do that and get a paycheck so I can sustain myself without needing my parents' help. So that's so actually, to look at that positively, I do have a lot of control in my life. I control the dominion of most things around me. I'm able-bodied. I don't go around in a wheelchair or anything, and I'm not financially unstable anymore. I make a lot of money. So that's another thing to not get down about myself, because it's not necessary. It's just to look at it more positively. I do have a whole lot of control. I can say that to myself when I look in the mirror. I have a lot of control of my life. I actually have so much control that I'm not bogged down by anything, really. It's just, this is what keeps screwing with me. So maybe just to slowly but surely on a daily basis, maybe write these things down, or write down how to think of these things more positively and just life in general, and then slowly the wheels will start turning. I'll become a more happier person. So the only one I really haven't gone over was the quitting wrestling school, because that was a really big dream of mine. But it doesn't mean it's to be a negative thing to dwell on either, because then at that point I'm never going to be able to move on with my life. It's always just, oh, I have to be stuck here. I have to be angry in my head, and I have to be stuck in this small space, and I have to feel bad and sorry for myself all the time because God took me out of, and my ex-fiance at the time took me out of the things that I truly wanted in life, and that's what I wanted. So I you know what? I just have to now be self-destructive because I didn't get what I wanted, and it doesn't rationally. That doesn't make any sense. So to look at it positively is that, well, I was there and it happened, and I was there for the school for 8 months, and it's just something that it's just not necessary to keep holding on to baggage. So I guess I'd like to actually pray right now that Christ, you would take this baggage off of me, because it's just not necessary to remove these negative feelings I've always had and been angry at you for. So I just pray that you, Jesus, would take all of that out of me, and that you would fill me with your love, and that you fill me with positivity. So that's so that I actually did. I've been feeling something since I started that prayer. I feel lighter, like my limbs feel lighter after I said that prayer. But so thank you, Jesus. Thank you for that. Anyways, it's just something that's just a part of my life back then, and it doesn't have to do with my life now. So maybe it's now just to start looking at things in a better way. So, and I'm going to try to do this on a daily basis. Maybe I'll tape it onto the fridge or onto the mirror or something like that, to try to think more positively. Like, okay, so I'm going to take a step back. Okay, how can I fix this? Or how can I ask what Tony Robbins said? Like, how can I ask these questions but still get joy out of not joy out of the feedback, but joy out of, how do I get joy out of the situation? So I'm going to do that, and also challenge you guys to do the same things too, to try to be more positive in life, and try to do it because I have not done this on a daily basis in a while. So I'm going to challenge you guys to do that. So thanks for watching, guys. For me to go through these 5 things are very personal to me, and maybe you should do the same thing too, to look at those things differently and pray that Christ help you figure it out. So this is Pastor Sean. Thanks for watching the videos for the Sean C. Stuckey channel and Death Church podcast, and God bless.